Hello, welcome to Hits and Misses on the Our Media Sports channel on YouTube. My name is Josiah. We'll be taking a look at the players and also the teams that were hit over the weekend and which of these teams and players also missed the score mark. And that's what we'll be doing. We'll be talking or taking an extensive look at how these players performed. Kylian Mbappé is making waves for Real Madrid, but I guess what happened, Kylian wasn't caught up to the France national team for the upcoming UEFA Nations League games. And for Arsenal, they slumped to another 1-0 defeat away at the Giuseppe Meazza against Inter Milan. You could say Inter Milan were tactically disciplined on the day, but for Arteta, what's happening to him? And then also his latest signing, Mikel Merino. How has he been able to adapt to the Arsenal system? Where are they getting it wrong? Is it Merino who is not good enough, or tactically Arteta needs to tweak something? This is Hits and Misses with me, Josiah. You can also have your say in the comment section. What do you think is wrong with Real Madrid, and then also Kylian Mbappé, and then Arteta, Arsenal, and then also Mikel Merino. All right, so it's Hits and Misses with me, Josiah, and let's start off with Real Madrid, and let's talk about what's actually happening to Real Madrid after losing to Barcelona in the El Gran Clasico at home at the Santiago Bernabeu by 4-0, a game in which Kylian Mbappé, the latest acquisition for Real Madrid, he was actually set to come into the squad and, elevate their performances. At least he should be the leader of that team per his standards at Paris Saint-Germain. Guess what? He was caught offside 8 times in the El Gran Clasico, and that game saw Real Madrid being beaten or walloped by 4-0 at the hands of their beaches rivals, Barcelona. It doesn't end there. Then days later, in the UEFA Champions League match day 4 game at home against another European giant in AC Milan, they ended up again getting beaten by 3-1. And the question that many are raising is that what is wrong with Kylian Mbappé? Just recently we had football legend, former Arsenal, Barcelona player and French international Thierry Henry complaining about the positioning of Kylian Mbappé. He goes on to say that he believes that Kylian Mbappé doesn't have the instinct of a number 9. And how true is that? Because during Kylian Mbappe's days with Paris Saint-Germain, before making that move to Real Madrid, we saw him play through the middle, and it actually worked for him, where he ended up picking up the top scorer award in the French Ligue 1, as well as the best player in the league before making that free money move or zero money move or free transfer, if you should put it, to Real Madrid. So now the question is Kylian Mbappé the player to save Real Madrid? Note that before Kylian Mbappé signed for Real Madrid last season, without Benzema, who had joined a Saudi Pro League club, the team managed to win the double. They won the UEFA Champions League, beating Dortmund 2-0 in the finale, and then also they won La Liga at the expense of Barcelona. Those achievements came without the inclusion of Kylian Mbappé. And then fast forward this season, they bring in Kylian Mbappé, and the team is still struggling. Now to Don Carlo. What is actually wrong with Carlo Ancelotti? Because last season he was playing with a 4-4-2 diamond. And last season, arguably, Madrid's best player had to be Jude Bellingham, who was played in that middle or on top of that 4-4-2 diamond formation, just behind Rodrigo and then Vini Jr. But now it looks like the inclusion of Kylian Mbappé has informed the head coach, that Carlo Ancelotti, to tweak his system. He's going more with a 4-3-3 now, just to accommodate Kylian Mbappé through the middle, and then Rodrigo at the right, Vini Jr. at the left, which means that the position of Jude Bellingham has been compromised. So now the question is, where are they getting it wrong? As one, Kylian Mbappé not supposed to be played as an out-and-out striker, a natural number 9 for Real Madrid, because they are missing the point. Or 2, they have to return Jude Bellingham back to the hole, because he is the one who fixes all their problems for them. Because last season he scored some important goals for Real Madrid, and that won them points, eventually leading them to the double in the UEFA Champions League, where they ended up beating Manchester City via penalties and then beating Borussia Dortmund in the grand finale. So there's quite a lot happening in Real Madrid, but Thierry Henry has had his say. I don't know what you think about the Madrid situation now. It doesn't look good for them. They've lost in back-to-back games, losing to Barcelona and then losing to AC Milan, a team that's not even playing well in the Scudetto. It means there's something wrong. But what are the fundamentals? Do you think Don Carlo or Carlo Ancelotti not getting his tactics right? Or you think the inclusion of superstar and world-class footballer Kylian Mbappé is the main problem at Real Madrid? Or thirdly, you think Jude Bellingham, hey Jude, the player who saved Madrid countless times last season, is supposed to be returned back into that 4-4-2 diamond system where they can flourish? You can have your say in the comment section. What do you think is wrong with Real Madrid? So now it's time to talk about Arsenal and their head coach Mikel Arteta. After 2 years of chasing Manchester City and letting or allowing the league to slip through their fingers, they are here again for the third season, but this time they've started woefully as compared to the previous 2 seasons. Guess what? 2 seasons ago they finished second, 5 points adrift of champions Manchester City after taking a commanding lead. Last season we saw them open up a 7-point gap ahead of Manchester City, and we saw City win the title after 38 games by 2 points. So what is currently wrong with Arsenal? Now let's talk about the assignment. We've seen Arsenal bring in a defender in Calafiori and then a midfielder in Mikel Merino. Now guess what happened when the team traveled to the St. James's Park in the Premier League to play against Newcastle? Arteta decided to play Mikel Merino in midfield and played Thomas Partey, whom I think is Arsenal's most important player, at the right-hand position in defense or at the right-back position. Then in the game, after 61 minutes of play for Mikel Merino, guess what happened? He failed to even complete a key pass as a midfielder and ended up just completing 77% of his passes as compared to Thomas Partey, who was playing as a makeshift right-back, who was able to at least give 2 key passes and complete 91% of his passes. So the question is, do you think Mikel Merino is an ideal or a perfect replacement for Thomas Partey, even though Thomas Partey is still in the team? And do you also think that the head coach, that's Mikel Arteta, prioritizes playing Mikel Merino because he's Spanish in midfield over playing the Ghanaian international Thomas Partey in midfield? So Arsenal in that game failed to create big chances and they lost by 1-0, courtesy Alexander Isak, after Anthony Gordon just served him a lovely cross which he nodded home past Raya, and then Arsenal lost, and that was their second defeat in the league at that point. Now guess what happened? Days later they traveled to the Giuseppe Meazza in the UEFA Champions League match day 4 to play against Inter Milan. They ended up conceding a penalty kick, and guess who the culprit was? It was Mikel Merino again, this time playing in midfield alongside Thomas Partey. He conceded a handball that's 10 minutes into the injury time in the first half, which saw Hakan Çalhanoğlu convert for Arsenal. But after 90 minutes, Arsenal failed to hit the back of the net, despite a cameo appearance from their midfield maestro, that's Martin Odegaard. Now the problem again is how Arteta set up his team with Mikel Merino in midfield again. Despite the fact that he formed a solid partnership with Thomas Partey in midfield, Mikel Merino's impact failed to be seen. Nothing was seen from the Spaniard, who many believe was brought in because of the many injuries Partey has or had gone through since last season, thinking that he will be the most ideal replacement for the Ghanaian international. But as we speak, the Spaniard international, who is 28 years old, is really struggling to find his form at Arsenal. We saw him play so well with Spain during the recent Euros, which saw the Spanish win it for the 4th time in their history. But what is happening to Mikel Arteta as well? Is he getting the whole thing wrong due to the way he wants to set up his team, playing most of the players or most of his important players in stopgap positions? And a typical example is playing Thomas Partey in that position when the team traveled to play Newcastle in the league. They've lost their Champions League game again, and they failed to score in their last 4 UEFA Champions League away games, which is quite a worry for Arsenal, Mikel Arteta. But the question is, do you think Mikel Merino is good enough to replace Thomas Partey or even start for the Arsenal team? Or you think the head coach, that's Mikel Arteta, who is also the manager of the club, isn't just good enough? After losing the league title twice in the last 2 seasons, you think gradually they're just beginning to lose motivation to challenge City once again for the title.